have an interesting one for you today. Oh, let's turn that down. I thought that was already turned off. Pause it. All right. So, today is going to be an extended episode again. Yesterday was an extended episode because I was doing some extra driving. Normally I just do these on my way to work, and they're about 22, 23 minutes long. Today I'm going to pick up a spare vehicle from another office. If you guys want to know, I work at the post office as a rural carrier, and I deliver out of my own vehicle, and my own vehicle has been in the shop for almost a week. I got it back after the first day, and it had the same problems. I spent $400 on a alternator and a belt, and basically the battery died twice on the way home from the shop after having those changed. So I brought it right back, and now it's almost a week later, and they're basically gonna change the belt again, I guess. This is like kind of a continuation of my troubles from yesterday. Basically, I'm in a little bit of a pinch. Driving your own vehicle for work is not great. There's a lot of drawbacks to it. Having to bring use your wife's vehicle just to get you to work, and then she doesn't have a vehicle all day, and so she's stuck at the house. It's not great, although I am grateful to have a spare vehicle and not screw up the mail for everybody, and I really, I don't like the idea of screwing everything up for everybody, but really it's about me. If I'm screwed up, then I'm real upset. So I'm glad that I have that ability to continue to work without severe interruptions. So that being said, I just continued daily frustrations, and but then there's little glimpses of hope and light, and yeah. So the world is not right. That's obvious. The world is getting run through the mill. Everything is collapsing as far as the reset, the Great Reset, all that kind of stuff. I really don't like to think about it, but it's one of those things where it's like my entire life, as soon as I started coming online and becoming aware of the problems and the hypocrisies and just the systems of control and the structure and all that, and I kind of became a bit of an anarchist, not really practicing, but just kind of that chaotic energy where you just want to tear it down. You just want it to end because you don't want the structures to exist the way that they do, because they serve objectively, in my opinion, evil purposes in people. And that might be subjective. If you're a Luciferian or Satanist or something like that, maybe evil is just that biblical thing where evil, they call evil good and good is evil type of thing, It's like I believe it was the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers were same thing. Competition is the greatest evil, or the greatest you know. So monopolizing, just owning the world and controlling the world. I'm not reaching a point here. I'm not reaching a salient thought. Just rambling as usual. But I have extra time to ramble today. I'm going to ramble on. Sing my song. I'm on my way. I don't know the rest of the words to that song. It's a sweet song. Led Zeppelin is, pretty damn good band. Had a good run. Those are some freaky individuals with some freaky pasts. Jimmy Page and all the black magic stuff that he was into. Aleister Crowley's Boleskine house that he purchased, where he was doing all this satanic ritual stuff, and yeah, when you get into like Gnostic philosophy and all this kind of stuff, they blur everything together. Basically, they try to basically explain that it's paths that you can take, and there's the left hand and the right hand path, and a lot of it has to do with like sexual energy and all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that's just considered completely taboo, and in my personal opinion, disgusting, reprehensible, reprobate stuff, where it's like you're no longer, you're off the reservation. Not redeemable type of thing. I think there is it kind of goes against what my overarching thought is, and kind of I'm not sure. I kind of view things through the lens of Christianity because I know that the most. I have the strongest tie to that, and I actually was a believer for a long time, and I still am to an extent. But the belief, as opposed to the knowing or the knowledge, even the etymology of the just believe with the word with lie in there, and gnosis being just knowing. There seems to be some deception in there, almost like baked into the word, and is just spelling, and spellcraft and grammar and the grimoire. Are those? Is it just spellcraft? Is it all just witchcraft? Has the etymology been purposely used against us? I don't know. I'm open to that. We might be completely mired in this witchcraft, in this matrix of spiritual bondage that is overarching. The idea of that we eat meat, we're meat eaters, and we really don't bat an eye at that, even though it's flesh and blood that we're consuming. And then there's some people talk about how there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but like we don't eat the most densely nutritious parts of the bodies that we sacrifice to eat. Like some people do, but the organ meats and just the different organs, we go for the meat, which is, it has protein, but it's lacking in a lot of other things. I just spit something. And this is all just information that I've gleaned from just, what the algorithm feeds me. But it makes sense, and it's feeding into my paradigm. And I've had these thoughts about not eating meat and stuff like that, and I've heard of Synomix, SYNOMIX, I believe, Synomix or Synomix, which is basically been explained as like aborted fetal cells, and that's getting mixed into just countless products, and the idea of Soylent Green is already something that is widespread. So they're on a cellular level, they're turning people into cannibals, in a slow process, and maybe that's it just, there's got to be something to it where they're it's just evil. It's like there's no way around it. In my mind, there's like, cannibalism is just evil. That's like the most it just doesn't logically, you can't make sense of cannibalism, because you're eating yourself, you're eating your own organism, you're eliminating yourself. It's and all the disease and all the Kuru virus, or even if that's even real, or any of that stuff. It's mad cow disease and stuff. There's obviously a parallel or equivalent to that for humans. Mad Hatter disease, or Mad Human and Mad Hatter would be like the mercury from the hats that people were wearing, from the felt hats that were being infused with mercury or lead or whatever, and they were making people go crazy. But the meat thing, that seems like, even if you don't eat meat, if you go and buy the Pepsi products and the Frito-Lays and all that kind of stuff, it's like, that's the idea, is that it's engineered in there. They've put it in, so you can't get around it. So if you don't just grow your own food and do it completely and become completely responsible for yourself and for what you're putting in your body, you're offloading that and basically becoming a cannibal. And that's indoctrinating you into a cult, that's pulling your physical body into that realm. I'm really on a roll here. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but I'm just spitballing, and I know I have some more time, so I'm just going. I'm going and flowing, baby. So and I don't know what I'm talking about. All this stuff has been I've picked it up here and there, some biblical resources, some just whatever, YouTube University. But I'll keep rolling on it. So the idea that we're living in this fallen state, and we're trying to get back. And yesterday I was kind of puzzling over the idea, if we could ever get back, and what does that look like? What is that experience? What are we missing from our experience? And if all is love and light, then what are the transgressions? Is that going, and is there utter darkness? Because that seems like it would be, instead of a lake of fire, it seems like it would be utter darkness, which I think is in the Bible as well. But the idea of getting to perfection in the material realm, whether illumination is just the first step, you become illuminated, and then you've ascended to a certain level within this realm where you become aware of the potential. I don't know if it necessarily means you have reached the full potential. I doubt that. I don't know if anybody has reached the full potential. Maybe some of the illumined masters, or maybe Jesus was, the true Son of God. I'm not going to say that's out of the realm of possibility, and maybe he was the perfect, the perfect vessel. But it's not as, that idea is not as satisfying to me, because you're again, you're offloading all that onto Jesus, all of your responsibility and stuff, and the payment that is required, or whatever, the sacrifice, and then is that just breaking? Is that the contract that breaks the system that started this whole thing? Because the idea is, if you get to perfection, there is no need for the world. There is no need for the separation of consciousness into different entities, into different people, because we would all be all loving and all knowing. We would know that we were all one. We would know that we all come from the same love and light, and the idea of sin wouldn't even be possible, because there is no deviation from the source if we are all going back to the source. And I was saying yesterday how the physical material world, almost like funneling down or going up, shrinking as the refining fire melts away more of the dross and gets us closer to the purification, the moment of purification. Now, fractally and mathematically, that's impossible, because there's always, can you truly separate those things? But is there a spiritual element that is paradoxical, that can be applied, that gets you there, basically back into, absorbed into source, feeling this? And this is like, something that people say they experience when they have near-death experiences, and I'd like to believe this is true. I don't know about all of the different extraterrestrial races and the different types of beings and stuff. Like, I think that's very interesting. That's a kind of a side tangent. The main thing is where we are now and who we are and what our purpose is here. If all those things do exist, then we are part of all that too, I guess, because we are. My belief is that we are all from the Creator, the original Creator, and that's why we have goodness, and that's why we have righteousness and something to work towards. But this whole realm is the experiential realm, where we have time to go through processes and really milk them and experience the totality of the emotions and everything, and really be able to wade in those waters for a long time. Long enough, it's probably a mercy when we're thinking that this life is too short and stuff, but it's probably a mercy for a lot of people. And your perception of time changes. Time flies when you're having fun, and and the older you get, the more time seems to pass quickly because of your perception. So the idea of perfecting, getting back to God, perfecting yourself, like I'm saying, like a refining fire shrinks the size of the material realm. So in past ages, this makes sense of the giants and stuff like that, and why they were, whether or not you believe the idea that these giants were of a different lineage from the fallen angels and the mating with the sons of men, or the daughters of the son, whatever, and they made mighty men of old, men of renown, which were basically the giants that and then talks about in the book of Enoch, all the watchers fell, with Satan or with Samael or Azazel or whoever it is, and they taught the art of war, and they taught metallurgy and makeup and all these different different, like, basically ways to get ourselves in trouble, giving us too much knowledge before we had the discipline to really handle those technologies, and the knowledge to protect ourselves from them, not to use these things, have them essentially be wielded against us, which is what was I think was the plan, was to trick us with all these fancy technologies and ideas, and seems like a gift, seems like a wonderful gift, but it's opening Pandora's box, and it can't be closed. So and if you believe in the giants, if you believe in the tales of the Bible, and the book of Enoch, and then there's also another book that is not included in the apocryphal texts, or the apocrypha, which I can't verify the source, or obviously you can't verify any of these sources. You can try, but you can't. I can't find a solid source on the War of the Giants, which is another supposed ancient text, which is, if any ancient scripture, or pseudo ancient scripture, or whatever it is, should be made into a film, it's this text, the War of the Giants. It just sounds insane. It's probably would be X-rated, because the giants were just, it was basically put in line in the same time frame as the flood of Noah, essentially, is what I've gathered. And the flood of Noah was happening, and the battle of the giants commenced as this was happening, and the battlefield became bloody, and then flooded, and then the waters became full of blood, and you couldn't even tell the difference, and the giants were like dismembering each other, and eating the members, and they were it's just like the Lord of the Rings orcs times 1,000, and you have they're like the most cruel and unusual looking weaponry you can imagine, like just everything attached to a chain, and axes with with hooks and just, you know, spears with everything's probably got a hook on it or something. It's just, you know, pure carnage. And it's I believe I believe it was Nebuchadnezzar, and well, that might not be right. The king Og of Bashan and Nebuchadnezzar, I believe, were the ones battling. They had the two factions of giants, and there were circumcised giants and there were uncircumcised giants, and that was the thing, I believe, which is crazy. So the giants were trying to redeem them. Were there? All right, I'm getting a call from my boss now, so I'm gonna end this. We're almost to pick up the thing. So, all right, guys, we'll pick up this next time. Very interesting. Everything is going to be all right.